What is going on, guys? It is that time of the week, people. We are back. It's felt like so long since we've watched any form of Premier League football, even though it's only been about 11 or 12 days. But we are back, and it is game week 25 predictions, people. Very exciting times. The Premier League is gradually getting on. We're getting closer and closer to the important bits, at least. I'd love to know your thoughts on the games in between, so all the cup games, all the European games as well. Obviously, the highlights being the fact that Liverpool being knocked out by Plymouth Argyle. You had Real Madrid beating Man City after City bottling it again in the last 10 minutes, which is just absolutely crazy. You had all the Europa League drama as well, which some people might not be focusing on, but for Man United, it's interesting to see who we might get next in terms of AZ Alkmaar or Real Sociedad. And Tottenham still in the mix for that as well. And both teams play each other this weekend, which we'll have a preview for you guys later on. But before we get into that, remember, ladies and gentlemen, you have one banana skin to use in this. So a game that you think could potentially be a slip up. And you have one barn burner to use as well. A game where you see like Chelsea and Tottenham, for example, that 4-4 game that they had. Or the crazy one that they had where they had a man sent off and then he went down to 9 men and just playing this high line with 9. Like that kind of game, that is what I would class as a barn burner. Now, one thing I didn't realise, we have a game tonight. As I speak right now, 8 o'clock tonight, we have Brighton versus Chelsea. Who obviously they played in the cup as well, didn't they? Brighton knocked them out. Chelsea bitterly disappointed, but they was just a better team. And it was kind of weird because Brighton, prior to that, they had lost 7-0, I think it was, to Nottingham Forest, which is crazy. So, in terms of going into this game, if you can allow me just to, lubricate my throat. Pause. But, I think, yeah, this is one where I think it's going to be a lot closer. I don't see Brighton picking up a win here. I think it's kind of both teams are in mixed form. I think a draw would probably be a fair result. I'm not sure what Chelsea are doing in terms of the striker situation. There seems to be quite a few teams at the minute who are having issues with the strikers, or maybe United have some that just don't score, and that's our issue with strikers. But that's a separate topic. In terms of Chelsea, no Nicholas Jackson, so I think Nkunku could come in there, which would be interesting. I do like him as a player, so he's one to watch out for. But I'm just going to go out for a flat-out draw, and that's probably a fair result, a 1-1 or a 2-2. Let's go 2-2, just because I think that Brighton do score goals, Chelsea score goals as well, so I think that's probably fair, and they'll have the Cole Palmer effect as well. Next up on the list, people, Leicester versus Arsenal in the early kickoff. Now, I was just talking about strikers, and we received the news yesterday or the day before, I think it was, that no Kai Havertz out for the rest of the season and for the start of next season as well, which is huge news. Havertz obviously brings a certain dynamic in terms of how Arteta wants to press, in terms of attacking phases. Likewise with Saka, Martinelli, who's out as well, Gabriel Jesus. You've lost a lot of attacking power there. So are they going to play Trossard there? Are they going to move someone else forward? Maybe come up with a bit of a creative solution? Yeah, they're going to have to work with it. I'm sure Leicester will try, kind of taking advantage of that. But I still think Arsenal get this done with a 1-0, 2-0 professional away performance, because Leicester have just been poor for the majority of the season. So I think that's probably fair. Next up, 3 o'clock kickoff, Aston Villa versus Ipswich, people. Now, interesting enough, these two teams in their head-to-head have had quite a few draws, right? And I can see that, and I know what people are thinking. Ipswich have had the moments, they've been okay in parts, but to be honest, I just think with the form that Morgan Rogers is in at the minute, and the way Jacob Ramsey's playing, and the fact that they're playing at home, you have to go for an Aston Villa win here. But I do think Ipswich could score through the lap. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 win, people. Let us know your thoughts on that game. Ipswich versus Aston Villa at Villa Park. Next up on the 3 o'clock agenda, Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. Two teams that are in almost identical form. Two teams that are overachieving, especially Nottingham Forest. They could end up getting Champions League football, which would be absolutely incredible. So, really hard to predict, because with Fulham, if you look at their results, right, they've lost to us being Man United. For anyone who knows, typically a United channel, but Premier League predictions is much more balanced. They lost to us, and we're dog shit, right? But they also beat Newcastle, but lost to West Ham, but then drew to Ipswich. So, you know what I mean? Fulham are very you really don't know what you're going to get from him. That makes it even harder to predict. So thanks for that, Marco Silva. Forest are very good defensively, so I don't see a lot of goals in this. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go for it again. I'm going to have to say a 1-1 draw. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. That's the one that I'm like, I feel like I might get that wrong, but it's a difficult one that to predict. It really is. Speaking about predictions, my God. Manchester City versus Newcastle United at the Etihad. Haaland versus Isaac. The race for the golden boot. I touched on it before. City bottling it again midweek, giving up 2 stupid goals, making more mistakes that they've been doing all season. Kanje, Edison, an absolute mess at the back. Newcastle obviously have their attacking threats in Gordon and Isaac in particular. They're through to the final after beating Arsenal, sorry. So they're through to the Carabao Cup final. And yeah, I think they're through in the FA Cup as well. So they're on a positive. They're on a high. They had a bit of a setback. But I think they'll be up for this, Newcastle. And it always seems, Newcastle City always seem to have a really good game, I feel like. So I feel like it's got goals in it. I think this is, fair to say, could I use it? Yeah, let's use it. Banana skin for Manchester City. I think Newcastle could go there and get a 3-2 win. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be brave. Because if you're not bold and brave in life, then, to be honest, what are you? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Right, the last of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, I think, or there might be one more. Yeah, I think there's one more. But Southampton versus Bournemouth. A battle on the, get your sand buckets and beach caps and flags and all that kind of stuff out. Because you're travelling down south, people. The game you would usually call in any other season a bit of a relegation scrap or 2 teams near the bottom. But obviously Bournemouth doing an unbelievable job under Iarola, who's bound to get... I always go to call him Areola, and I'm thinking that's a nipple, basically, so you can't call him a nipple. But, yeah, I think he's slipping up the table. I think, obviously, Southampton are at where they are. They're probably going to get relegated. I do think the manager that's come in has marginally improved them a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to keep them up, I don't think. And I think Bournemouth will go there. They are one of the best coached teams in the league, in my opinion. And I think they're going to go there and I think they're going to score quite a few goals, is my prediction for this. So Bournemouth, 3-0. Let's go 3-0. I changed it last minute. I always do that when I have my predictions, but Bournemouth 3-0 is fair. West Ham versus Brentford. Potter versus Frank. Again, a similar comparison because I think Potter has definitely marginally improved West Ham. I don't think you'll see a real impact until the summer when he has a proper pre-season and can work with his players and can also bring in certain players that he wants. I know obviously there's a couple of players that he's worked with before. But yeah, I don't think you're going to see a real Graham Potter identity until the summer. So he's kind of like patching things up at the minute and working with certain players. Again, they've a team who's been really up and down. And they've had a couple of nice results, but some really bad ones as well. But yeah, West Ham at home. Brentford don't travel very well. I don't know. I really don't know with this. I went for a West Ham win. I've got down a West Ham win 2-1. But Brentford can surprise. They are obviously fantastic on the counter-attack. They do have players who can score in Visser and then Buemo. I'm going to have to go for a draw again. I'm sorry. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. West Ham versus Brentford. Or a 2-2 draw. Let's go 2-2. Let's go 2-2, I think. At Desmond. I think that's probably... Yeah, let's go with that. Crystal Palace. So the last game on Saturday. Crystal Palace versus Everton at 5:30. Everton, you know what? I always said if I had a second team in the Premier League, which I know people might think is illegal, I would support Everton. One, because they hate the Scousers. No, cut that out. I can't cut it out. Not because they don't like Liverpool, not Scousers. Scousers is like a broad term for everyone, right? I don't mean that. They don't like Liverpool. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is, I don't know, I've always had this kind of affinity with him. Obviously, one of my good mates growing up, Alex, who's been on the channel before, is an Everton fan. And maybe it's something to do with that, some kind of nostalgia. I don't know. I just feel like they're a good club. And obviously, watching them on Wednesday night play against Liverpool at the last Merseyside derby at Goodison, get that last-minute winner. Obviously, they're all going to be on a high. I think since David Moyes has gone in, he's kept that organisation that they've got, that they're really good at, but he's also added like confidence going forward. And you can see it in the players, and even in the way he's talking in the press conferences. He was being asked, and this is a perfect way to kind of not manipulate the media, but keep them on your side. He was asking them about, are the players going to get overconfident? Are they going to, are they run out and all this kind of stuff? And it's like, well, I'd rather have them on a high than people being negative about them all the time. So let's continue this positivity. And I quite like that from David Moyes, and obviously showing his experience. Having said that, traveling to Crystal Palace is always a tough test. Will they be drained? Will they drop points? I don't know. And Dye's out for a couple of weeks. I think he's picked up muscular injury. He's a massive player for them in terms of being that jack in the box who can just, open up a bit of play. I'm not sure the striker situation. Beto looked a bit rough around the edges against Liverpool, scrapping with the centre-backs. So for them reasons alone, I think this game will be, and I'm going to go do it again. This is probably the most amount of draws that I've predicted on Premier League predictions. So there's a record for you. Another draw, 1-1, Crystal Palace, Everton. Yeah. On to Super Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Liverpool versus Wolves. This, straight off the bat, I'm very confident in this. Confident win for Liverpool. They'll be frustrated with the last game. And at Anfield, I think they're going to plaster Wolves 3-1. Goals, an assist from Gakpo, Salah. I think you'll get that kind of re-up that they're right, okay, back on top now. Because obviously got Arsenal chomping at the heels. And I think that's another kind of interesting dynamic to think about. Arsenal play on the Saturday, right? So I think they're 7 points behind at the minute, Arsenal, I'm pretty sure, because obviously Liverpool drop points on Wednesday. So if they win, they go to 4 points. Now that's a lot of pressure. Liverpool lose that game against Wolves or drop points again. People are talking about Arsenal being back in the title mix despite their injury situations and stuff. So I think Liverpool will want to get that job done, and I think they'll win it convincingly 3-1. The last game on our prediction is Tottenham versus Manchester United. Now, I'm not going to give my prediction away because we're filming a preview a little bit later on today. I am giving it a barn burner for obvious reasons. Spurs are involved and they're against United, and they're both having a really dog shit season. They both desperately craving points. So I think there's going to be some mad situations in this game. Maybe a red card, VAR decision. And I'm not going to tell you the scoreline, but check out our preview if you want to go and watch that. Me and Sam are going to film it a little bit later. Maybe by the time this is already out. But keep an eye on our channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing when we do drop the preview. Apart from that, enjoy the rest of your weekend, people. Premier League football is back. How nice. How nice. Happy Valentine's Day as well to people. Some people spend it on their own, So if you are one of those people and you don't have a Valentine, happy Valentine's to you, okay? Yeah, everyone else. I was going to say happy anniversary as well, but that's obviously different. I'm not going to talk. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you in a bit. Take it easy. Let us know what you think of the predictions. Get your banana skins in. Oh, that sounds weird saying that on Valentine's Day. And get your barn burners in as well. And I'll see you in the next one, yeah?